You are now listening to The Jason Damico Show.
Greetings, folks. Welcome back to The Jason Damico Show. It is so great to be here. And it has been, I want to say, probably 5 or 6 months since we've had a featured guest here in the studio live and not through Zoom. Because you probably can't see from the camera angles, but there's a nice, beautiful finished kitchen right behind our guest's back, who I'm going to introduce here in a second. And in a roundabout way, he is here because of a phone call that I made looking for a tour bus. And now here we are. I'm going to be playing guitar for him coming up in a couple of days here at a New Year's show of yours. And ladies and gentlemen, we have here in the studio, hailing from Siler City, Silcope area, North Carolina, the 2023 CCMA nominee for Country Music Video of the Year, Christian Country Single of the Year, Emerging New Artist, and then he's been featured on B93.9, Raleigh's #1 for New Country, Sweet Tea's Carolina Country radio stations, Maverick Radio, North Carolina, 95.1, 94.3. Really coming up. You got to catch this rising star. Please welcome to the show my new good friend, Jordan Pickett. It's great to have you here, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
This is wild, right? We were just on the phone last week. I called you because a mutual contact friend of ours, Greg Lewis with 39 West Catering and the Sycamore. We've known Greg for 15, 20 years. And we were just talking about like Christmas, and he kind of helped us with a little bit of catering. And somehow, in some way, your name came up because of the bus. Right. And I was like, all right, well, just call this guy. I just felt led to call you for some reason. Called you. You called me back within a couple of minutes, and we're talking about the bus. And then you answered some great questions, or you gave answers to some of my great answers to some of my questions. And you just asked, like, hey, you know any guitar players for this New Year's gig coming up? I was like, yeah, I'm available. You know, here we are.
I swear, I think it's a God thing, man. Because
absolutely.
I was on the edge of not asking you because I didn't want to bother you. I was just trying to answer your questions and then let that be it. And then it just, like you said, something just led me, and I was just like, I'm just gonna ask him.
Very cool.
And then, sure enough, you're like, you know what? There's a lot that you don't know about me. So then here we are right now. I mean, just because that one question,
isn't that crazy?
Led us here. It's awesome.
It's wild. It's wild. Well, it's such a blessing to have you here, and we've. I feel like I've known you for a while. It's one thing, especially when, you get into an artist's material, and it's another thing when not only do you get into it, but you're actually playing it.
Right.
And dissecting parts, and it was so great having you here in the main room, and we were working on parts for the last hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. And you really get to know people very, very quickly in this field.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But we're going to get to know you a little bit better and a little bit more, and our folks out there watching and listening as well. Let's get into your beginning stages, brother. Like, it sounds like you sound like you've been doing this for decades, but you've really only been doing it for the last, 5 years or so?
Yeah,
so
most, yeah.
Kind of, like, unpack that for us. Like, how did this happen?
Well, music has always been something around me. I've always been involved in it with my my grandparents and my uncles and aunts, and I've had a lot of musicians in my family. And I'll never forget our Christmas parties. And just recently we had the same Christmas party we have every year, and my Uncle Donald would play guitar and lead us in hymns and Christmas songs and all that. And
sure,
he passed not too long ago, and now it's kind of been me that's been playing guitar and leading that. But ultimately, I've been around music with my family, and my grandpa was my hero, and he passed away in 2017, and that was when I wrote my first song. Before that, I just kind of played guitar a little bit here and there. But when he passed away, I had so much emotion I didn't know what to do with, and that was when I wrote my first song. And
wow,
that was it was midweek sometime, and then that Saturday I played it at his funeral. That was the first time I'd ever played in front of my family even.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then since then I had kind of just kept playing and writing. And then long story short, we were just talking about COVID hit and how the world shut down. And my preacher had come to me and he was like, hey, I know you've got a few speakers with your music. Do you mind setting that up so I can preach in the parking lots? So I was like, yeah. So we set it up for him to preach. Man, it went so great. There was a parking lot full of people. And
wow.
We just continued that. He was like, well, if there's going to be this many people, we're going to do it like this, you need to be playing a little bit of guitar. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And so I kind of jumped into that, and God got a hold of my music career. And
wow.
He really launched. I claim it to launch of around that time with Silcope Acts Worship is actually what it's called, and we still do it. We took about 2 years to build a stage and try to get it up as big as we could, and now we still do it every first Saturday, and right there in Silcope where I'm from. And outside of the church thing, I began to do music as a job. Some people get out of high school and they go work at Walmart or Burger King, or they become a carpenter or whatever it is.
Sure.
And start jumping into a field. Well, I just started buying more guitars, and then I started playing out everywhere I could, even if it was just for tips. Just trying to get my name out to where I could one day be booked, and then sure enough, time led on, and I was booking out acoustic shows all over the state. And that grew to out of state, and then just at the beginning of 2023 was when I was finally able to go to the House of Blues with the CCMA Awards, and we needed a band to be like everybody else. So we put together some guys I knew from school, and we made it work. We played "Feels Like a Memory," which is a song that I had produced with Rivers and Bridges Studio right there in Silcope again.
Yeah,
and then throughout this whole year, we've really tried to push the whole band experience and to push that whole aspect and to play bigger and better shows and good quality and we've really accomplished that goal. And I've had so much support that I've been able to accomplish it and be grateful. So
that's great. Who are some of your major influences besides your family, like your grandfather? And I could probably answer that question because I've just been playing them all past week, but I'll let you kind of explain a little bit more. Who were some of those people?
Yeah, man.
Artists?
So I've got to say, Merle Haggard is probably my favorite. There's just something about the vibrato in his voice and the low register and the story type of songs, like that kind of music just gets me. So Merle Haggard, George Strait, George Jones, all that classic country kind of stuff. That's where my roots are. But of course, I wasn't born back then, so I've got to play some other stuff as well.
You and I both. Yeah.
So I, growing up, finally get a car, you turn on the radio. It's not really George Jones. It's Cole Swindell and all those guys. And so, I like that too. I can dig that, and I can play that as well. But then when I write is kind of a little bit of both, I guess, because my roots and my passion is back there with George Jones and Merle Haggard and the story style songs, but the sound sometimes come across as the more modern because that's where we live today,
Absolutely. And speaking of, kind of where we live today in music, you being primarily, I think it's safe to say, a country artist, right? Yeah. Country's been kind of all over the place. Even since the 90s, we've seen obviously the rock influence, blues, everything really came from the blues, even jazz. Where do you see, and I guess you could answer this in two different ways or just kind of expand on it. For yourself, where do you see yourself going with your music and the country scene? And then where do you see country music going? And maybe that's a one combined answer, but...
Yeah, I see myself staying true to my roots and staying true to what I do and who I am. I've actually got a song called "Who I Am." Yeah, and it's in that same kind of vibe as the classic country. I see myself making a career of music and doing it however I do it. I think in the music industry, there's so many influences. As people go through it, I think they try to attach themselves to whatever's popular right then. But I think the best way to do it is to stay true to who I am and see how many people I can get to come my way with it.
Right.
And if that's the modern vibe, the classic country vibe, whatever that is, I'm just going to try to stay true to me and do my thing. And maybe one day it'll come around. And I do. And to answer your question, as far as that of country music, where do I see that going? Right now, we're in such a modern stage. It's wild, but I do see that circling back around to this more storytelling songs and these are the classic country sound again. But it might be another 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. But I see that circling back around.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm a fan of, for what it's worth, I'm a huge fan of Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
And I know he's got a bunch of stuff going on there, a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of rock, a little bit of country, but I mean, the same thing with like Travis Tritt. Some of those are, and you guys, there's this thing in country where some singers and some artists, they just have a way to really access your soul where others may not. Like for me, there's some that just don't.
Yeah.
And the ones time and time again that do, for me personally, are the ones that have some sort of that older kind of throwback feel. Mm-hmm. Your writing process, you started writing right after your grandfather passed, it sounds like, from what, the story.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through that writing what is that writing process for you? Like, is it just kind of like it comes to you, or are you feeling moody? How does that work?
Yeah, man. Well, it's I guess it's kind of different every time.
Yeah.
I can't really predict a song. I think you can always sit down and say, I'm going to write a song right now, but you still can't predict exactly how it's going to come out. Mm-hmm. And I think even if you did sit down and say, I'm going to write one right now, it's still coming to you as it comes. And that's kind of how the songwriting process has been for me, especially in the beginning. As my grandpa passed away, that was the first time I ever experienced songwriting. And that was one of those that you just came upon me and there spilt out in a song. And I wrote a lot like that. Just going through high school, being mad or being sad or whatever, and just having emotions like a normal person. And then, some people do other things, but I write songs. And so, yeah, a lot of them come from just spontaneous emotion. And then I challenge myself to be a songwriter and to wake up and say, I'm going to write a song today. Mm-hmm. If whether it be about this or this or this, I'm going to write a song. And it's not one that I have released, but maybe one day. It's called Days Like This. And I just went outside, sat on the porch, and was looking out and was like, I'm going to write a song right now. I'm trying to be a songwriter. And so that was another way that my songwriting has been is it's different, but I was looking out at the grass and I was like, man, we need to mow the grass. So I put that in the first line. I was looking at the Jeep. I put that in the line. It was sun shining. I just kind of took the aspects of life and made a song, said, I wish every day was like this. And, sometimes it comes to me and sometimes I sit down and try to write it. So that's how it's been for me. Have you ever noticed this yet in your career and your writing, that you'll write something and then, you write it about some subjects, right? Like, I'm sitting here, the grass needs to be mown, whatever. But then you'll play the song, maybe it's released, you play it live a few times,
or many times, and then a few years go by and you get this whole like revelation about the song. You wrote it about this, but then something happens in your life and the song's like 3, 4, 5, however many years old. And then it's like, oh wow, like I almost wrote this predestined before this part of my life. I caught up to this part of my life on the timeline. Has that ever happened to you yet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a song, another one that's unreleased. It's called "Road with You." It was in the time that my girlfriend was going to college, and I wrote it about me being the only one on the road with her as she goes to college and goes away. And it's funny how 4 years go by, and she comes home, and then I start a music career, and I'm on the road all the time. So now it's almost like the roles have reversed.
Role reversal, yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, it was, that's
I thought I'd ask that, songwriter to songwriter, because I've had moments like that where, I'll write a song and 5 or 10 years go by and I've been playing it, whatever, hundreds of times or whatever. And it's just like, you're just sitting there playing it, and all of a sudden you just get this whole other meaning of like, oh, this is what this means. It's not even what I thought I wrote it about.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It just changes. It's pretty cool.
Crazy how life goes, man.
It is. So your recording process, you've worked at a couple of really great studios, one being Rivers and Bridges, as you alluded to earlier. Talking about process, kind of recording process for you, what is that typically? Are you like a morning person? Are you kind of like going in there late at night? Like what's your vibe?
Well,
it's kind of whatever.
I'll first say I'm the music director at my church. I play the piano there.
Oh, cool.
And, so we have church at 9:30 in the morning, and I get there about 7:45, 8 to make sure I'm warmed up, sing through my songs, played a little.
Yeah.
And I've come to learn about myself that I'm not a morning singer. One time I tried to not get there at 7:45, and I was just like, I'm going to show up at 9:15. 15 minutes before it starts, and my voice was cracking. I couldn't sing the notes, and it was just bad. I was like, I will never do that again. So when it comes to the studio, I definitely like an evening thing.
Yeah.
Even gigs, man. Like,
yes.
I can't stand like a 12 o'clock or 11 a.m. like a festival thing at 11 a.m. or something. I'd rather like a nighttime gig.
But the checks are nice.
The
checks are nice.
Yeah. But yeah, the studio has been fun. I love the studio side of it and recording, and, going in there, and it's different from live performance in so many ways. There's pros and cons to both. But
absolutely.
But yeah, Rivers and Bridges has been a great place for me to record my music. I took steps to get there. I started with someone else. My very, very first started music, I had like 5 songs, and I wanted to get them recorded, but I was a little nervous about going into a studio and being on somebody else's time and trying to pay for that, and like I feel like I can't mess up, and I just had pressure that in my head anyways, and so I went to a guy named Mick Snow Productions, and he was in Thomasville, and man, he really helped me come out of that box and lose that fear. Made so many memories there. He became so much more than a producer. He was one of my best friends, really, and he passed away not too long ago.
Wow!
But the memories I've made and all the lessons he's taught me is just something I'll never forget.
That's great.
And so, yeah, just having that start in that studio. It was a in-home studio, and he was very talented. He'd been down the road, done the thing, and kind of settled back home. And actually now his son runs the studio. I think it's in Thomasville still.
Cool.
But anyways, I got my start with him, and then I moved on to actually, I guess from there, I kind of took a break after he passed, and was just kind of doing it myself, not releasing it, but producing myself, so I could still have that aspect of writing songs and getting them recorded. And
yeah,
during that break, I kind of met Rivers and Bridges Studio, and Sunette Bridges there, And then we kind of took that step into that field, and here we are. I've got 2 songs produced with them and looking to make an album. So,
and you've also you've gone down the Christian and still currently, I mean, Christian gospel as well, and you're up for a Christian song as a nomination coming up here at the CCMAs. Talk a little bit about that, just kind of like what your thoughts are between the different genres. Do you see it as one thing? Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so the whole Christian aspect is a really interesting topic to me because I've always been a Christian, and I love God. I love going to church. I love singing and writing Christian music. But like was said in the beginning of this podcast, I've always looked up to Merle Haggard. So, it's been a thing trying to be a country singer, and then go to church the next morning, because I might be in a bar at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you show up at church the next morning, and they're like, "Where have you been?"
Right.
I've never drank. I've never done that. I've just always been in there singing and doing my thing, like I said, and the church has always actually been more welcoming than not.
That's good.
I've been grateful for that aspect of it, and their understanding, and I think it comes in a understanding of what I actually do with my music, and I guess I see Christian music as a genre, and I see country music as a genre, but I guess I see myself as a Christian country artist because I don't know, I've just have so much love for both worlds that like when I sit down and write, it's like it just merges, and I could literally write a Corey Asbury or Chris Tomlin song lyric over top of like a George Jones album. Like that is where my brain is when I'm writing.
That's pretty cool.
It's crazy, but
that's pretty cool.
If I could join those together, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think you should. I don't really. Is anybody doing that?
I don't know.
You are.
Me, yeah.
You
I'm gonna try
it. Biggest challenges for you that you could pick one. I mean, maybe off the top of your head that you've had to face with continuing to build a career, and maybe you've overcome it already, or maybe it's something that you are currently overcoming. What would that be for you?
I think it depends on where the problem lies, because if it's a problem that relies within myself that I have to overcome of myself, that's one thing. If it's something that trying to get the public to overcome, that's another thing. I think it goes back to the Christian country aspect of it. That was something that was a little bit of both of myself and the public eye of that was it never was necessarily a huge problem, but it was always a kind of internal conflict of like playing in the bars, everybody's like thinks I'm great. Here's a beer, and I'm like, I'm not even old enough. I'm like 19. And then you go to church the next morning. So that was always an internal conflict of how to be a leader in the church and also a leader in country music and trying to battle those worlds. But I've overcome that, and I guess I know who I am in God, and I know who I am on this earth, and I know what I do, and I know what's right and wrong, and I just kind of do me. And then the other aspect of it is I think a problem that I've faced for a while was trying to get people to take me seriously. That was a long journey. I mean, especially being younger, it's like I never really had a whole lot of friends, but I guess that plays a part in it. But trying to get the people your age to support you or be like, go to your shows or buy your tickets or share your stuff or whatever, or wear your merch,
represent, baby.
Yeah. But trying to get the that community like that
Yeah.
to see you as more than just a kid with a guitar kind of thing, trying to see it as like, hey, this is what I do as a business, as a job. You know, you work 9 to 5, I work 24/7. I don't know. That's the question I want to ask you? Is like, how is your hours? Because I feel like it never stops.
Never stops.
It never stops.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really. Well, for me, this is just for me. I have to watch myself because it can turn into. I had a problem with being a workaholic for years.
Yeah,
and that can still happen, right? You just gotta you learn about yourself. That's all part of life, and it's like, yeah. So you have those tendencies. You got to know when to chill out. And I faced the same thing. For years I was always trying to white knuckle and this is what I do and this is my thing and da da da. And it's you just learn over time. It's like things just come to you.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. You don't have to freak out about everything.
yeah. I guess I'll say that through 2023 I was workaholic, and I guess I still am. But that's one of my struggles.
What's the alternative? Not getting it done? Right.
Yeah. I mean, the whole world's not going to blow up if I don't answer that comment. So that's what I've remember.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, but again, you'll find, and I think anybody will, as you just get to know yourself better. It's like that old Socrates or Aristotle or one of those guys. Know thyself.
Right.
Somebody's probably going to, whatever. Somebody put it in the comment section. I can't remember what it is. I'm too lazy to Google it right now. But know thyself. It's everything. It really is everything. So I'm glad you asked that question. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's one thing I've struggled with too, though. Yeah.
I think there's worse things to struggle with, though.
Agreed.
So if those are our crosses to bear, I guess it's not that bad.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah, yeah. So, best and worst live show experiences for you. There was one that was just elation, amazing, and then there's another one that was just like, this is the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. I always ask any performer that's on the show, I like throwing this one at them because it's just funny to see what's happened.
Yeah. It's
I've heard
hard
some crazy stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet. I will say, I think recently was one of my best shows. As far as like a normal gig, it's a big place. It's called Havoc Brewing Company in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's a great place.
Awesome.
And it's got a lot of space outside. It's got a lot of space inside. And when I was there singing, I remember looking out and seeing no space available. And that was the coolest thing ever,
That's great.
Like it was like standing room only inside and outside. Like
wow.
It was just so many people there. And that was just a really awesome show for me because it was, like I said earlier, of trying to get your local people to take you seriously and say, hey, this is cool, this is what he does, and he does it good and he does it professionally, and trying to get them to understand that. And then at that night on that show, I felt that they received that. I felt like my hometown was like, yo, Jordan's got it going on, let's go support him. And everybody showed up. It was just a really good feeling to see so much support and see so many familiar faces and meet a lot of new ones that I didn't realize had supported me from the beginning and were following my journey. And we're like, it's so cool to finally meet you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people came out to that. So I was just grateful for that experience and for that gig, and looking to be back there next year, hopefully to do the same thing.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
As far as my worst experience, gosh, I don't know.
Or anything just like that was just surprising. Doesn't even need to be bad. Just like something that was like really like, wow.
Well, Well, I'll never forget Wings and Things in Winston-Salem.
Wings and Things.
Yeah, Extreme Wings and Things, the biker Harley Davidson bar.
That's cool.
It was actually one of my first gigs there. I just played Sunday afternoons for acoustic and play for tips. And I just, it never sucked. But because I'm playing music, it's just fun.
Sure.
But I remember one time it was one time my dad couldn't help me with sound and setup and stuff, and it was no big deal. It was just acoustic. I went and did it myself. Actually, my girlfriend was there, and she was there, and but that was it. It was me and my girlfriend, and we just sang to the asphalt. That was it. There was no one. There was no. I was like, but hey,
why not?
I'm still getting paid to be here, baby. So I'm gonna play it like there's a million people here, and I did. And cool. And you know it. I guess that bad time actually turned into another good time because it's a good memory now. There was a guy that was inside. There was a few people inside while I was outside. He was playing pool and he come out and he handed me $100 bill. And it was a tip, and I was like, "Whoa," you know, like that. You know, I was like 17 and just singing and trying to do it and learn how to do it. And there was no one here. It's all good. I'm just doing my thing, and then here this guy is. You know, you don't realize how you could still be impacting someone, and that show had taught me a lesson, and I carried it with me. So no matter how many people are at the show, I'm still going to play it like it's the daggum Grand Ole Opry. I'm going to do everything I can to give you everything I got. And I think that's effective because the few people that are there or that one person can be affected. And if I'm at the Grand Ole Opry and everybody thinks I suck, but one person felt God through my songs, my whole career's worth it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I don't know. It's just something
I love that.
Something I took from that.
That's great. It's just such a healthy way to look at it too. It's a really good perspective. How do you stay inspired? Like, besides seeing that the grass needs to be mown.
Oh man. Well, I've got to say, my faith is number one.
Which is funny because that was literally my next bullet point, faith. So,
oh yeah,
yeah, perfect segue.
We'll get there. Talk another 30 minutes. But yeah, my faith is definitely a big part of it. I guess it's everything. I would be nothing without God, and He's given me so much, and I just try to use what I have to give back to Him, and to lead other people to Him. But you know, we're all human, and I'm definitely human and make mistakes and fall away from the path. And I guess it's hard sometimes to lead people when you feel like you need to be led yourself. I guess that's why I love church so much. But I really stay inspired because I think about where I started and why I started. And it had a lot to do with trying to think about a job one day to take care of the people that I love, like a family and my family that I have now, and trying to learn how to have that someday, as well as, again, God, of doing it for Him to give back. And outside of that, my dad, I can't say enough about my dad. He's been such a big fan, such a big supporter and encourager in my music career. When there's mountaintops that we're on the top, he's there cheering me on. And when we're at the bottom and it seems like we're not going to be able to go anywhere, he will figure out how to pick me up and carry me up the mountain again. He's just always been a great supporter, and I wouldn't be where I am without my family. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you just alluded to faith. I just wrote down something on here extra because I just, again, feel led to just ask. You know, being a believer myself, since I can remember, and seeing some pretty interesting things happen in my own life and other people's lives through prayer and just through awareness. Any supernatural things that you've seen at all with just your faith? Anything that's just been miraculous? Anything that's just been ridiculously like, okay, this was good, like anything?
Yeah. There's a lot.
I'm sure there is.
I guess there's a lot, but even if you break it down to the simpleness of, hey, we're alive again another day. That is in itself a miracle.
Yeah.
And being able to take another breath in your lungs, and just grateful. But throughout my music career, I don't know, man. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I know that Dustin Miller, my guitar guy, he was a godsend because we went through a few bandmates and we went through a tough time, and we had one of my biggest shows. I forgot about that one. That rewind to earlier. That was a great show also. Coca Booth Amphitheater.
Oh, cool.
That was one of my biggest shows. But little did they know, like a week before, I had no band.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like lost. And
so what were you opening up for somebody?
no,
or?
that was the whole thing. Yeah,
Wow.
It was
wow.
a cool thing.
That's
it was,
awesome.
Part of the Pickett in the Pines concert series.
Very cool.
B93.9 kind of hosted that and sponsored that. And it was
awesome.
Part of that. They put me on the radio for like a month or two, and it was just a really cool experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no band. And I was like, what are we going to do? We have all these shows, and Coca Booth is the biggest one, and it's next week, and we have no one except for this guitar guy. And sure enough, that guitar guy knew this guy and that guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. And sure enough, he was able to help me fulfill 2023.
Wow.
And I've got to give props to him on that. It was very, very helpful. And it was a good dude to know throughout 2023, and looking forward to 2024. But
absolutely.
Anyways,
speaking of 2024, that was my next, which is basically the last bullet point, future plans for you, which obviously, are really looking good. You got a great bus. Your face is all over it. Love it, right? Love it. Sponsors on the back. Obviously preparing for even bigger, just making things even scaled more, bigger. I would assume, right? What do you see for yourself as far as, and it's just such a cliche question to ask, but as you move forward, maybe 5, 10, 15 years, what are you thinking?
Well, I guess that goes back to the miracle thing of, God has just continued to lead me, and I've continued to trust him. As soon as I try to take the reins and do my own thing, I don't have a band. So as soon as I just start giving it to God and trusting him, things fall in order. And,
wow.
And I've learned that. But as 2024 comes, I'm really looking forward to playing further. I want to go visit Nashville, and just as a trip, man. I've never been.
Wow.
I've never been, and it's like, how could I even say I'm a songwriter and musician? I've never even been to Nashville, so I want to go do that, and then maybe I could try to book something down there, or
sure.
I want to. You were talking about Florida not long ago. I want to go to Florida and play. So we got the bus now, and I'm ready. I'm ready to just travel and see how big we can do it, how far we can go, and see where God leads us, man.
Absolutely. You can get that if you need to. Or
hello, Mom. You're live on the podcast.
Oh, no, what?
Yeah, it's all good.
No. Do I need to go?
No, yeah, I can call you back later.
Yeah, call me back. Bye.
Oh,
that's great. We won't keep you. We're gonna knock this out. We got about 5 more minutes left.
we're
Real
good,
quick, just you've got January 20th CCMA awards coming up. And is that That's North Carolina, or is that just Carolinas in general? Or
South Carolina,
South
House
Carolina.
of Blues,
Okay,
Myrtle Beach.
Awesome. So you'll be there. Your social media. We'll get to that in a second. I do one fun thing with each guest. It's called the shootout. I just say one word. You just fire the first word back that comes to mind.
Oh, Lord.
It's just like a little popcorn answer.
All right, I get ready.
Country.
Music.
Guitar.
Player.
Song.
What?
Song.
Oh, I thought you said sock.
Sock if you want, yeah.
All right, next.
Song.
Writer. I think I'm just feeling the word.
You're doing really well. I think you're the fastest that we've had. We've had like 150 people on the show, and you're just like boom, 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 boom. Studio.
Musician.
Stage.
Me.
Vocals.
Singer.
Bus.
Me again.
North Carolina.
Traveling.
I have Silk Hope / Siler City.
My hometown.
Last but not least, very important, pizza.
Pepperoni.
Well, folks, you heard it here. And I'm a pepperoni guy myself, so great answer. Although I have to stay unbiased. I always tell everybody there's no right or wrong answers, but pepperoni to me is the right answer. The only answer. I've had people say some crazy stuff on here. Like,
Meat lovers.
That's another good one. Pineapple. No. I mean, the ham, okay. Pineapple and ham, okay, fine. But it's like, listen, I'll have the pineapple after the pizza. I was like a little...
Still put it on it.
Little dessert, yeah. A little whipped cream, pineapple, you know what I'm saying? Last question for you. If you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what would you tell him? Or tell him his advice or just whatever.
Man, I would tell him to take more time to write. Because I think writing is such a reflective thing. You know, even when you're trying to write about something else, like it's still your own thoughts. It's still your own brain. So I think writing is such a good therapeutic thing for me. So I would say write more. Jordan, write more.
Love it. Where can folks find you?
You can find me best at jordanpickettmusic.com, or all my social media is Jordan Pickett Music, but I've got quick links on the website there.
Amazing.
Man, I truly appreciate you having me.
Amazing. Yeah. Any last words to wrap up?
I would just say, if there's any musicians out there, keep doing it, keep going, and don't just do it to do it. If you're gonna do it, and try to impact somebody when you do it.
Incredible.
And God bless.
Folks, that's it. I can't really top that. I've got nothing to say beyond just grateful to have you here, man. Really grateful our paths crossed. I don't know, whatever. JordanPickettMusic.com.
That's right.
Correct. Description box is below. Click the links. Follow on Spotify. Share. Do what you got to do. Go see some shows. And we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.